All right, so those of you who still need to continue, we are at numbers and we are looking at question number 2.2. You should be continue writing if you haven't written down. However, we are going to look at the answers. Just to recap, the answer to number 2.1.4 is for the highest common factor of 24 and 32. If not sure, state the HEF, and the HEF stands for highest common factor. All right, and then when we looked at the common factors of 24 and 32, we actually saw we had 1, 2, 4, and 8. Now, what is the highest between 1 and 2? 2. And what is the highest between 2 and 4? 4. And what is the highest between 4 and 8? 8. So what is the highest? 4 cannot be, unfortunately, the highest. So we have to say, first we answer the first question, which is for the highest common factor of 24 and 32. And then we say no. All right. This is supposed to be a 2-point question. Then you say no. And then you say HEF of 24 and 32 is supposed to be 8. Okay. So please make sure of that. And then in the next question, we're going to answer. Let me just see if I can get a new pen. All right, so now consider the multiples. List the first 8 multiples of 24. Okay, so I'm going to say 24 multiples of 24. And then my multiples of 24 is going to be, the first one is going to be 24. Then I add another 24. Raise your hand if you know the answer. Well done, he says 48. And then if I add another 24, 72, I want to agree with him. And then 96, that sounds correct. And then what is the next one? 120, I want to believe her. So I will believe her. If I want to do something, I will do that. Okay? So how much is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We still need 3. To the hands. 144. 144 sounds appropriate. And then if we add another 24, it will probably be 168. 168 and 192. Is that the last one? Okay, so we have 192. Now we have answered. We're just going to check. Did I answer the question? The question says list the first 8 multiples of 24. So I have 24 plus another 24 is 48, 72, 96, 120, 144, 168 and 192. I'm continuing and then I read the next question. Now there's a golden rule. When you write or when you read or when you learn, there's the golden rule, and this rule should be applied every day, because you shouldn't only do the rule, but this is actually practice. Now the rule goes like this, and I would like you to write it down. All right? I know it in Afrikaans, but I will try to explain it in English. So I'm first going to make sense for myself. It says, lees 3 keer. Dink 2 keer en skryf 1 keer. Alright, so what that means for those of you who do not understand Afrikaans at all, if I were to translate this, so I'm going to put it into the translator. So this is actually a function. Alright, so I'm going to put it into the translator. You see how we're doing functions, and this function is called translator. So translator, and if I translate this from Afrikaans to English, I will get the following. My output will be, my input is lees 3 keer, so that will be read 3 times. Read 3 times, alright, and then I would say dink 2 keer, that would be think twice. Think twice. I think twice is spelled like that. I hope so. Think twice and then write only once. Now why is this important? Because I see a lot of right answers, alright, or we read the question only once and then we think we know the answer. We didn't even read the full question. So that's why I'm advising you to write only once, and that's how we eliminate mistakes as well. Because now at the next question, at the first question they might ask you, write the multiples, and then you write the multiples of 24. Alright, and then you go write the multiples of 24, then you write multiples of 24, it's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, and then at the next question they ask you for something, they ask you now write down the highest common or the lowest common multiple, but then you realize I shouldn't have written down the factors, and that is actually what I did in the first step, you see. But if you read and you rechecked and you make sure that you understand the question, you won't have to go back to the question again. Alright, so read once, read 3 times. Make sure you read, first of all, to read the question, second of all, to understand, and third, to answer the question. So you're first going to read the question, then you're going to repeat the question, repeat that reading, and then you're going to say, do I understand what is being asked? And now, when I read it again, can I answer this question, and how would I go about answering this question? Now I think to myself, I think twice, I say, okay, the first thing would be to do this and this. I go through my steps, all my steps, and then the next one will be to solve that process. Alright, so I think again, am I really on the right path? And then I write only once. Okay, so that is on that. Now I'm going to try and practice this with you. So the question number 2.2, and I want you all of you to follow. List the first 6 multiples of 32. Alright, so that was once. Now I think to myself, I read the question. Now I'm going to read the question again. List the first 6 multiples of 32. Do I understand what I am supposed to do? Okay. And then I read it for another time. List the first 6 multiples of 32. Alright, so I generalization, by this time I will understand what is being asked. So I'm going to write multiples of 32. Okay, so multiples means adding up. So I'm going to say 32 plus another 32 is equal to 64. Can we continue? 96, 128, 160, 192. Is that all? Okay. So let's continue. Let's quickly finish this one so that you don't have homework. Alright, so let's see. List at least two multiples that 24 and 32 have in common. I'm going to read that again I'm going to speed it up a little. Alright, so my speed is not going to be times 1, it's going to be at 1.5. So I'm going to say list at least two multiples that 24 and 32 have in common. Alright, I understand more or less what I have to do. And then list at least two multiples that 24 and 32 have in common. What is the words that I need to do? I need to list at least two and then multiples of 24 and 32. Okay, so I'm going to do that quickly. Just going to change my my number. Alright, so I think the numbers here would be, so I'm going to list the numbers that are the same will be 96. Okay, 192. Is that all they have for in this part? Yes. Alright, so I'm going to write that in my question. So my answer will look as follows. It's going to say multiples, or we can write, let's answer the question. So let's write common multiples of 24 and 32, and then we write it's 96 and 192. And then in the next question, we can already get the answer, give the lowest multiple they have in common, example the LCM, and then we write LCM of 24 and 32 is going to be 96. Alright, we'll continue in the next period. I thank you, grade 9. That is all for me for now.